Welcome to Sarder TV, an idea-sharing platform founded by Russell Sarder, who's an author, investor, and CEO of Netcom Learning and AI Certs. We're excited to welcome back Robert Burnside to speak with us today. Robert is the former Chief Learning Officer at Ketchum Public Relations, and now he's Senior Learning Advisor at the online learning organization, Nomadic Learning. Robert, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you back with us. So, Robert, it's wonderful to have you back with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's really fun to see you after these many years. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and your career journey and where you are today.
Okay, I'm Robert Michael Burnside. I'm American. Grew up in America, got a BA in political science and then an MBA from Duke University, which I'm proud of. Then most of my career has been in adult learning and development, essentially. 15 years, Center for Creative Leadership and Leadership Development. Then 15 years as Chief Learning Officer for Ketchum Public Relations, Division of Omnicom. We had about 2,500 client-facing people there, 60 countries, so it was a lot of fun to work on learning and development there. Then about 7 years ago, I joined Nomadic Learning, which is an online socially collaborative learning platform, digital. It built Josh Person Academy. If you know Josh Person Academy, that's a Nomadic platform. There I've been a senior learning advisor, very senior, as you can see. I've enjoyed that role a lot and got to also look at adult development through the lens of digital socially collaborative learning, which is interesting. The last 7 years I've been in Milan, Italy, which I love to be. So here I am. That's a little about me.
Yeah, great. So, you were with us a few years ago. We did an interview together. And today we wanted to invite you back to talk specifically around artificial intelligence and its boom and the effects on different companies and the roles and how organizations are adapting to it. So to start with, tell us how AI is transforming the landscape of corporate learning and training.
Well, it's a little bit like an explosion, we can say. I would say the first biggest change for corporate learning, L&D practitioners, is that role has always been content curation in the past. What did the people need to learn? Where can I go find that knowledge? How can I bring it to the people? How can I deliver it? Check that they used it, okay? Well, guess what? Gone. That is all in AI's hands now, and it's for good reasons. AI is brilliant. It is simply brilliant intelligence delivered within about 30 seconds on whatever you need to know. Now, that's wonderful. It's really wonderful. But what's these L&D practitioners supposed to do now? How is learning going to happen? What's going to happen is, first of all, the learners themselves will have AI at their fingertips. And what they want to know, just like anyone, you can get with a request to the algorithm. And same for the L&D practitioner who wants to know anything, and you also can get it clearly. Now, what comes to you? What comes to you is this brilliant summary of what is known in that particular area you have a query about. So that's wonderful. On the other hand, the problem with that is in the past, the L&D practitioner was at least thinking about that content. Is it good? Is it useful? Does it fit with what we're trying to do? The algorithm doesn't care. It's not human. It's a machine. And it doesn't care whether it's good or bad, useful or not. It simply takes your words in your request, does a algorithmic look at millions and millions and billions of data and finds the words most relevant to those words, puts them into and gives it to you, and all of this in 30 seconds. Now, that is brilliant, but it has not been through a human lens of whether it's good or not. So that's the difference in that kind of knowledge that's coming to you. The good side is it used to take 2-3 days, maybe more, to go find where the content was, try to make some sense of it, summarize it. What you can do in 30 seconds and better, to be honest with you, with AI. On the other hand, it's not been humanized yet. Somebody has to humanize it, and that's where the role is changing in learning. Both the learner and the L&D practitioner now have you might say, a more difficult job, which is now that I have all this information, so what? What am I going to do with it? How is it of value for me, for others, for the organization? So that's a huge, huge shift. And I wanted to give, I know it'll be in the notes later, I wanted to talk a fun cartoon from Ron Chast in the New Yorker. He did a beautiful cartoon of, it shows the story of Adam and Eve. We all know that story, Adam and Eve were at the apple tree. The serpent came and said, "Want a little knowledge?" The gods were a little unsure whether we humans should have it. But the serpent said, "Want some?" We said, "Give it to me." Now you can look at what we've done and think, we've done some pretty good things with it, including AI. And you can look at what we've done. You can say, we've also made a heck of a mess of things. So you can look at what's going on in the earth. Now, what Ron Chast did is he recreated this in a cartoon that has the serpent. And the serpent is saying, "Want some information? An apple has 75 calories and is grown primarily, blah, 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 and from the species X, as data." And Eve's looking up there like, So the point is, we are being greatly tempted once again with knowledge, which is this AI knowledge. But it's only, it's only intelligence without wisdom. It doesn't have a human heart in it, doesn't have a human conscience in it. It's just intelligence. So we're being tempted again, and we'll see what we do with it.
Yeah. So just given that new landscape and kind of the wild west, right? You can type in anything and it gets that spit out all this information. How do learning professionals then actually collate and curate learning, make it personalized, create learning paths for employees then based on what the organization needs from them in terms of skills, and also based on learning styles?
Right. So what's interesting is that the curation now that the L&D practitioner needs to do is less about the content per se, because anybody can get that. It's now about which algorithm is the best one out there, because there's hundreds, and you can go on any website now and they're all comparing like 100 different platforms for you. So first, the practitioner has to think about, is this the best algorithm that we've chosen? Secondly, what is the data set that algorithm is using? That matters a lot. If you're in healthcare, you don't want a data set that's from manufacturing. You want a data set that's based on healthcare stuff. So that's the second thing you have to think about. And then the third thing is the algorithm also including our knowledge we have as an organization in this data set? So essentially, it's bringing together what we know, what is known out there in the world, just specific to our particular product or service. And you need to be sure that as an L&D practitioner, has been well chosen, well designed, well brought, okay? Now, for the learner, it's beautiful. I'm here to tell you, it's just simply beautiful, because the learner with this robot who's going to be sitting on the screen with the learner, the robot knows the style of learning I have as a learner. Am I an introvert? I'd rather just read stuff. Or I'm an extrovert and I need to talk. The robot's going to know, and the robot's going to look very human. They're pretty close to that already. And the robot's going to say, "Okay, Robert, you like to talk? Let's talk about X." Now, the robot knows that in this realm of knowledge I need, I'm pretty good on about 2/3 of it, but 1/3 of it I'm a little weak on. So it's going to go right there. It's not going to bother me with the 2/3. And just as a little aside, unfortunately, I can say from a long career, there's been a lot of learning delivered in large organizations that had no impact. Why is that? It was too generic. So if go back to my learner here, I've already knew 2/3 of the stuff, and I had to go through a course in which the 2/3 was boring me to tears. It was a waste of time. Now the robot's going to leave that aside, just go right to what I don't know. Now the next good thing is the robot is going to fact check me, unlike the American political process. It's going to fact check me. It's going to say, no, you didn't answer that one correct, Robert. Try again. You see what I mean? And so my learning has become so personalized to me, and it gives me only what I need to know. That is the true blessing for how learning is going to change for the learner as well.
Yeah. And what specific tools or applications of AI have you used as an L&D advisor that have sort of really enhanced the learning experience?
Right. Well, there's any number of tools out there. Some of the best ones are how to make a good prompt, just prompt engineering, because it matters a lot. How you say it to the algorithm in a way the algorithm can respond most effectively, and what it is you really want. So a nearby and useful technical application is that. Another application, there's a bunch of them out there, help you rewrite my email, check my email for spelling errors, or transcriptions. I'm doing an audio, it's making a transcription as I go, or translations. All of those technical things are already there and already being used. What I want to go to is what I think is a deeper application of this technology in learning. And I'll talk here from my own experience. So recently I did a series of interviews with what we call L&D disruptors. These are people in large global organizations running L&D who are disruptive. In other words, they throw out the old pretty quickly and go on to the new rapidly, to doing whatever it takes to get the outcome that the organization needs. Now, these disruptors, they were like hour-long interviews. I had like 7 of them with 7 different people. Now, in the past, before AI came on the scene, it took me quite a while to get the transcript from Zoom, analyze the transcript, get the basic summary from each person, then take the 7 summaries and find the master summary. What are these disruptors saying that, okay? Now, AI does that for me in 30 seconds per thing, and then 30 seconds for the master. So what used to take me days and days before I could even get on to, is this useful? Can people use it? Now it takes me minutes, really, literally. Now, once it's come to me, then there's this big question. Now, who I am with my knowledge and experience, what sense do I make of these summaries from AI? What's going to be really useful in terms of what I'm trying to do for the audience I'm trying to reach? So in a certain sense, my knowledge and experience now can be used more effectively with what's known, whereas there used to be a lot of it went into just trying to figure out, what did we say? What's the summary of it? So in general, for the experience of learning, it used to be we took a whole lot of it in just gathering the knowledge and then a little bit on doing something with it. And now the knowledge is gathered like this, and we need to put this effort into, is this worthwhile? So what? What am I going to do with it? How is it going to achieve anything good? Is it useful? Do I need anything more? That we used to use a little bit of time. Now that's our main effort, and that's not easy. That's a harder, more difficult effort, both for learners and for L&D practitioners.
Yeah, and the traditional learning management systems that organizations, use, are you seeing AI built into those as new programs are being developed?
Yeah, a lot of the problems with the LMSs was they had a huge library of information, which when when one went and got what one wanted, one watched, I'm sorry to say, about a boring video for 10 minutes, or whatever, And what they're trying to do in the LMS and really the LXPs, the learning experience platforms now, is bring AI in there to help the individual, guide the individual through that library and find what that individual needs, right? Help the individual find the way they want to consume that information. So AI is now coming into the learning experience platforms pretty strongly to try to make sense of that, let's say, library of knowledge that's generally there. But, and this is probably unfair for me to say, and I'm sure you'll have an LXP provider on soon, but I think the AI is just going to go way beyond whatever's in the LXP and gather what's out there in the world at large and bring it in. And so AI is going to be everywhere, LXP, but also everywhere. I'll give you an example that might be interesting, just very briefly. If you're having a team meeting to solve a problem, we'll probably be using AI facilitators. The AI robot already knows what the team discussed the last 7 meetings, what needs to happen in this meeting, and it's just going to bring what we need. That's where it's going to be everywhere. Sorry.
No, so with this increasing integration of AI into these learning environments, what skills do you think learning professionals need to develop to effectively leverage this AI in training?
I'm happy to list those and to confess right away that I need them also. The first one is you better be deep on data analytics. You better understand the nature of data, how data is structured, okay? Second, you need to understand the LLPs, the large language processors. How are they taking the words in the prompt and the billions of data and putting those into something of value to you? You need to understand how that algorithmic process is working. Third, you need to understand how humans interact with AI technology. Where does it work well? Where is it a problem? What's in the way of the human being taking in? There's a lot of people quite afraid of AI and don't want anything to do with it. So that's another thing as a practitioner, you need to know how to bring that AI into them. Finally, there's going to be a pretty big need for ethical considerations. Is the algorithm in the database biased that we're working from for these answers, or is it okay? Are the answers coming up? How are we conforming to what our local political requirements are in use of AI for ethical reasons? So that's just a brief look at some of the things we need to develop.
Yeah. So then, just based on this, do you think that specific courses, certifications, or in learning and development would be helpful for the learning professional?
Absolutely. Definitely. We need learning, we need courses both for the learning and development professionals, but also for the learners themselves in the use of this technology to reach the goals you have as a practitioner or as a learner. And those courses can start with just the technical stuff, how to do a good prompt, how to choose a good algorithm, how to filter your database. Or they can go on to the deeper stuff like how do you determine whether the intelligence you gained through this is of value, and how do you determine if that use of that is going to be for something good or something harmful.
Yeah. And just going back to we were talking about training and personalized learning paths for employees and how organizations have to start learning how to implement AI in this. How do you see AI changing the way organizations now assess learning outcomes and effectiveness? Okay. Is that going to change from the traditional ways?
Yes, because well, let me give this example because I think this will make my answer more clear. What are the ways in which we might use AI? They go way beyond training, okay? Training is something they used to do back in the 1960s or something. That's going to be the feeling of it. Now, here's an example. This comes from a L&D disruptor in a large consulting global organization talking about how they plan to use AI. So just listen to this and you'll see why I'm using this as an answer about training. Okay, it's going to be like this. The AI assistant knows that this consultant is on the way to customer A, client A, to talk about supplier stuff, okay? The AI assistant knows that they've ordered an Uber. It knows that Uber takes 30 minutes to go to that site because it can look at Google Maps, okay? It knows what the subject is of the meeting with the client, and it offers to the consultant in the Uber, 30 minutes on the way, here's a 10-minute video about that subject, or here's a paper just produced yesterday on the latest thinking in this subject. It will take you 10 minutes to read. Now, where's training in that? Well, training has gone away, and what we're now at is what you can call knowledge in the flow of work. We used to call it learning in the flow of work, in the flow of work. Oh, I'm doing this. I'll go watch this video and it'll help me do it better. This is knowledge in the flow of work. It's the surrounding of knowledge, taking into account who you are, where you are, what's happening, what needs to come out of it, and bringing just the knowledge in you need. So, I don't know, did that answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And so when we're talking about, creating training programs, knowledge programs that are more engaging and effective, we're really talking about incorporating AI to make it more personalized, right? And very relevant to the learner.
Yeah.
What challenges do you see organizations facing then when they're trying to do
ones. Some really big ones. One of the first ones is the resistance to AI from employees who are afraid that it's going to take their job. And this is a big concern right now globally amongst employees, that AI is going to replace me. And it will replace much of what we do. I mean, I just described the L&D practitioner's role as primarily content curation. Went away, so I could be worried. What's left for me to do? This is a role. This is a question for people everywhere in their work. So the first thing is organization. The first challenge is how to enable people to see the value that AI is going to bring to them individually in their role and for the organization overall. That's one challenge. A second challenge that's more internal. An external challenge is I'm now leveled with all my competitors because we all have access to the exact same best intelligence out there on our field or our product or our service, right? Now that we're leveled, the challenge for the organization is what do we bring to this intelligence that really gives something that our competitors don't, that's really valuable, that only we can do, that meets some goal we have for the future. And that is going to put much more pressure on the organization for creativity, innovation, forecasting, forward thinking, people who can look to the future and imagine what could be. Because the AI can't imagine the future. It's just the past brilliantly brought together. And we have to imagine this future now. For the organization, that's going to be a challenge to start with the fact that I'm at level with my competitors. What do I have to bring differently? I'll stop there.
Yeah. Given that, what do you think will be some of the biggest trends in AI and learning over the next 5 years?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think biggest trend for AI in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to enter into everything. So not only my workplace, but also how I buy groceries, how I use my phone. It's going to be If I get together with my friends, AI will be a part of that. Maybe let's all get together. What do we want to do? AI can have some nice suggestions for us based on our past getting together, etc. So one of the biggest trends is it's just going to be everywhere around us in everything we meet and do. And the question for that is, well, what's left for the human being to do? Or who is that human being anyway? And so one of the trends here will be a necessity, whether we like it or not, to determine what's it mean to be human, because AI is going to take over a whole lot of that stuff that we typically do as humans. And we're left with, so what do we add to this? And what I would say is the real question that we'll be struggling with these next 5 to 10 years is, can we make AI under our feet something that we use to benefit ourselves and the world and make the future better? Or are we going to give up to AI, put it over our heads as an authority, let it kind of tell us what to do? And those two images, I guess, are something we have to choose among. And to come back to that human being in the middle between choosing those two images, that human being who each of us will have at our fingertips intelligence that I can use to put power over others and get what I want, or I can use to empower others that we all get what we want. That's going to be a real front and center, everyday, ongoing choice that we make as human beings that will determine a lot about where does AI take us in the next 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm. So then how are instructional designers and learning leaders today what are they supposed to do to remain relevant in the future?
That's a great question. One thing is to immediately go get all of those AI tools that help you build better programs, better learning. There's just for example, typically when we're delivering a learning program, we have content, but then we have quizzes, polls, discussions around them. Well, AI can very quickly develop those polls and algorithms and discussions that add to your content. So I would say first thing we need to do is learn to use AI effectively to make these programs more engaging and more relevant for the learners. The second thing we can do, I would say, as a profession, is work with each other to figure out how, once this brilliance of intelligence is at our hands, how does a human being go from there in their learning journey? And I think we have a lot of ideas as L&D practitioners about how human beings learn. How do they learn? How do they keep knowledge? What do they forget? How do they engage? I think we're going to have to up that game quite a bit to understand what does it mean for a human being to learn and grow and develop given this abundance of intelligence at their fingertips. And, to go back to that fun little image, the serpent in the apple tree saying, want some knowledge? I got right here, So I think we're going to have to understand more deeply what it means for a human being to learn, grow, and develop. And to do that, we'll have to understand what, after all, is this human being here? What are we here for? Gosh, what are we supposed to be doing? I have a quote I like to use. This is from David Campbell. He was one of the originators of the Center for Creative Leadership. Had a great quote, which goes like this, wrote a book about it. If you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else. And so there's a question for us with AI. Do we know where we're going with this AI? What are we here for? Yeah. So I think that's going to be on the tables of the L&D practitioners for the next 5-10 years.
Yeah. What are some of your personal favorite AI tools? Do you use Copilot? Right. Do you use Otter AI? What is it that you in the
I've tried a lot of them, but honestly, Chat GPT 4.0 is my favorite. I'm using it all the time. I put all of your 11 questions into it. It fed me back lots of brilliant stuff, on each question. It's a good one. Chat GPT 4.0 I like because it is comprehensive in what it brings to you, and intelligent and quick. I've also tried, Claude from Anthropic, and I've tried Copilot. A couple others. I've tried the Adobe as an AI assistant also. They're all quite good, but over time, I've continued to find that ChatGPT 4.0 just simply seems a little faster, better, quicker, and more to the point than some of the others I've used. And so I continue to use it. And I use it for everything. I use it, if I want to ask a question about anything, like recently, what's the difference between a Sunni and Shiite, for example? It gives you a brilliant history of that, So I just, that's my favorite.
Yeah. And are you seeing organizations use ChatGPT regularly, even as they're developing their learning programs or incorporating AI into it? Is it a form of ChatGPT?
Yes. What I would say is organizations currently are experimenting because it's a little too quick. It's a little too fast for these large global organizations, hundreds of thousands of employees, to just go like this and be AI oriented. They have to, first of all, typically in the large organizations, there's such an abundance and a cacophony of systems that have to be brought together through AI. Most of the L&D practitioners in these large global organizations I talk with, these disruptors, they're saying, yeah, it's coming. We're going step by step, because if they're not careful, they could overthrow everything that's there. And they need instead to incorporate it in and bring in AI. And so, like me, like all of us, they are trying out many things. And I think appropriately, partly because AI is improving so quickly that what already seems brilliant, 2 weeks later seems less brilliant, So I think I would say it this way: go slow to go fast. Don't just choose one and change the whole world with it. Experiment with many. Talk to your people, what seems to really a benefit. Go slow before you go fast, and then watch what's going on out there. Biggest advice is use it. Use AI. Use it right now, all the time, best you can. Keep experimenting, and watch and learn and listen, and eventually you'll know, oh, this is the best one for me, or for us.
Great. Well, Robert, this was great. It was wonderful having you back on and talking to you. And thank you for providing such amazing perspective, as you always do.
Well, thank you. It was so fun to see you again. And after all these years, and to talk about AI. Who knows what we'll be talking about next. But thank you.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Thanks, Robert. And thank you for joining Starter TV.